I've invited Yak, who's better known as 13, to the VERI community on Telegram, and Michael, who's better known as Crypto MM, to have a discussion about the Amicus brief that was filed in support of Reggie's motion to vacate. Yak was one of the original drafters of the dossier that suggested or supported a motion to vacate or setting aside the case.
Yeah.
And then Michael, of course, has been a key component in the VeriDAO for a very long time and has helped with the original amicus that supported the Ripple case. Um, so yeah, gentlemen, welcome. I appreciate you joining me. Um, I guess, Yak, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. Thanks for inviting us, Riz. I was just going to say you're a brave man.
Thank
So,
you.
um, y- yeah, we originally started this journey about just over a year ago. In fact, it was following some issues that Reggie had been experiencing concerning another case. But just to briefly recap, well, first of all, before I begin, I just want to thank everyone that has supported our initiatives, and we've had so many initiatives that it's probably overwhelming some people. But I just want to, give my sincerest thanks to everyone that has either supported us in relation to filings of complaints, of doing letters to Congress, of a whole myriad of things that we've activities that we've been generating, output that we've been generating. And also the latest initiatives in relation to the smart metal silver rounds. But most of all, I would also like to thank all the DAO members for the incredible hard work, conscientiousness, gifted. I mean, I'm so grateful to be working with such gifted, conscientious, like-minded people, as I'm sure we all are in the group. We're all of a like mind. That's why we're there in the first place. And this case, these things that are affecting Reggie and affecting us as token holders, um, it's more than just what affects us. This is about truth, about justice, and our fight for freedom at the end of the day. So, and for the right. I mean, we're supposed to have a right of free speech and for our voices to be heard, but it seems like you have to fight for that right, for our voices to be heard, and we have not really had that opportunity up until now. Um, just to briefly recap. This situation arose following a 2-year investigation. The SEC filed a complaint and a temporary restraining order against Reggie and Veritasium, and managed to secure an ex parte application, ex parte meaning without notice. Application went to court and managed to freeze all of, initially they were trying to freeze Reggie's personal assets, but certainly all the company's assets. Essentially, that deprived Reggie of any funds in which to be able to defend himself. And in a nutshell, he was basically over a barrel, and that's standard operating procedure, from what I can tell, with the SEC. Essentially, forcing you into agreeing terms with them, and that's what it came down to at the end of the day. Although Reggie battled valiantly with his lawyers to try and fight the injunction and the temporary restraining order. The bottom line is, it was you have no idea how much it costs to fight the SEC, and I'll give you an indication. It cost Ripple more than $200 million to fight their case with the SEC, and I think John Deaton was providing his services pro bono. So it just goes to show you that the costs mount up massively. He would have otherwise been staring at bankruptcy. So essentially, you're presented with a fait accompli. And the other complicating factor from his point of view and our point of view is that once you enter into this final consent judgment, you're also obligated under a gag order. So you could not talk about the case in any way, shape, or form, not even to us. So he had a strict gag order, could not criticize the case, could not criticize the actions or anything. And so essentially it was left to us about a year ago to start working on. I mean, this is when we started really, the DAO started looking into the case in detail. And that's when we produced the what is now known as a dossier. Originally, it started its life as a draft motion to vacate and set aside. But we relabeled it the dossier only because of concerns as to whether or not we are allowed to even draft documents, because none of us are certificated attorneys. None of us are professionals in that respect whatsoever. We are literally lay people. I mean, I have some knowledge and experience, but in the UK, and in relation to a totally different area of the law. So I am like everyone else, a layperson. So it was absolutely new to me. I was on a massive learning curve at the time. So the first draft that was produced never survives, as any of these things. It was a team effort by some fantastic guys that I'm so proud to be working with, and I'm truly humbled to be working with such gifted individuals that include yourself, Michael, and you, Riz. I mean, William, I could go through the list. I've gone through it a few times before. But it is a
One
team.
day I'd like everyone to be known because I think everyone deserves to be known.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people really, the membership needs to understand that we literally work 28 hours a day, 9 days a week, and there's just not enough weeks in a year to fit it all in. We are burning the candle not only at both ends, but in the middle as
Huh.
well, some of us. So we work very, very hard in representing the community and trying to safeguard or look after or protect our interests as VERI token holders, as well as Reggie and the Veritasium group of companies. So our aim ultimately is to restore utility to the VERI token and also restore Reggie's reputation, which has been blackened by the SEC. I mean, so anyway,
Well, well
we
said. I
you
just
know,
want to
so
add when you mentioned that Reggie was forced into the consent judgment, it should be noted that he neither admitted or denied the allegations that the SEC basically alleged.
yeah, absolutely correct. Nothing was proven at the end of
Hmm.
the day. Nothing went to court. None of the facts were proven. None of the case was argued before a jury or before a judge. Nothing. There were just allegations that were made in filings by the SEC, which, in truth, Reggie rebutted every single one in a very, very comprehensive declaration in rebuttal along with, I don't know, hundreds of documents to support that declaration that absolutely rebutted the SEC's case. But it seems to me that it was completely ignored by the court. And, like all these things, at the end of the day, you can only survive so long before you're facing bankruptcy and are forced into a situation where you have to agree, whether you want to or not. But at least he agreed on the basis that he neither admitted nor denied any of the allegations that were contained in the complaint. So, absolutely correct. Nothing was proven. The case was not proven against Reggie, despite the press release that was made after the filing of the TRO, which was on the 12th of August 2019. The day after the SEC released a press release, or issued a press release, and they were not referring to these assertions as allegations, but as if they were like facts, proven facts, and they were not. They most certainly were not. And it's arguable whether if they are accurately reported, whether these are defamatory or not. But be that as it may, we take that to one side. We're at a stage now where, after 12 months of sheer slog, blood, sweat, and tears, I mean, we've literally been sweating blood over these things. And after 12 months of hard work, we've now culminated and we're in a situation where Reggie and his lawyers, Sieberts, have filed a motion to vacate on the grounds of a fraud on the court. And it's been responded to by the SEC. They've issued a response, and we are in the process of filing a reply to that response. When I say we, I mean Reggie and Veritasium. In the meantime, we as the VeriDAO, on behalf of, or on behalf of the whole of the very token community, have filed an amicus curiae brief. Amicus curiae means friend of the court. So, as a friend of the court, we've filed a brief essentially in support of the motion to vacate, Reggie's motion to vacate, and
Before we
we've
actually
obviously had.
Before we get
Sorry.
into that, actually, I wanted to touch on Michael and his experience with the amicus that was submitted, sorry, the VeriDAO's amicus that was submitted in support of the Ripple case. So, Michael, did you want to basically update us on that or share your thoughts on that?
Just to draw some, I mean, that was our first action, you know, as a DAO, as a form DAO. Um, I wanted to introduce myself too. Yeah, I am Michael.
Sorry.
I've been for a long time, Riz. Yeah, and it feels good. It feels good what we've been able to do. I agree with Yak 100%. We have had to work very hard to get to this point. But yeah, if you want to go back to 2022, that was a major action that the VeriDAO took. You know, at that point, we had filed a no action letter with the SEC. Again, all of this seeking clarity for the VERI token. You know, after the final judgment, we were left with a heck of a lot of questions. We don't have a whole lot of money, yeah. So we did raise a few funds, and no action letters aren't super expensive. So that was our first action. And then we did file an amicus brief again, just alerting the judge to what happens to token holders. Yeah, I mean, both cases, both the Ripple case and Veritaseum, they had the same expert witness, Patrick Doody, and you know, same thing. I don't think he interviewed one XRP holder, whereas he did not interview one Veritaseum token holder. And here he is, as an expert, stating what the Veritasium token is, stating what XRP is. Well, we know in XRP, his testimony wasn't allowed, you know, because of the issues in which he presented himself. I guess I'm not quite sure how to say it, but there were issues there. And again, just to our point, you know, we were able to come in as a group of token holders and say, "Hey, Judge, this is what happened to us, you know, in the secondary market. Nobody really cared about us, you know, and we were harmed. And well, at least we thought we were. Yeah, we still think we are. There was a connection severance. So anyway, yeah, and then fast forward. Again, I want to thank the community because we have been going at it. I mean, we kind of woken up out of a long slumber here, and the community is still very, very active. I mean, you go back to last June, July, like Yak said, we have been doing this for about a year. That's whenever this community was able to raise about $140,000. Reggie needed that in a separate legal action. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah. And then again, very recently, you know, just very excited that Reggie was able to file a motion to vacate. Super, super excited that he was. And then for us as a group of token holders to be able to stand up and assist in any way, very proud to do that. Very happy to do that. And let me explain. Let me back up. I mean, the amicus brief this time isn't necessarily. I mean, the overall goal, I guess, is clarity with Reggie's motion to vacate. But very simply, from the token holder standpoint, we stand in support of Reggie. We would like the Judge Kuntz in this case, to hear Reggie's story. You know, just because it was in the TRO, a lot of this stuff, it wasn't explained fully. If you look at that, that's where you get into the discrepancies of Jorge and his, just the way this case was put together. It was not good at all. And Yak was able to pick that up, point that out very poignantly, and show everybody in the RICO dossier, which led to complaints, again, more community actions. I mean, we have been doing a lot. There is a lot to do if you care to
And
learn
when you
about
say complaints, you're talking about the bar complaint against Jorge Tenrero,
it.
and
Right.
then 5 other complaints that followed with the well, I mean, I could list the names here, but But yeah,
We
basically 6 bar complaints against all the members that were involved in the action
That's
against
correct.
Reggie.
All the attorneys involved, from the regional director all the way on down, have now had bar complaints filed against them. Um, Obviously, the original first bar complaint was against Jorge Tenorero, who was the lead attorney, senior counsel, along with, I guess, Victor Sadamanand, in relation to the enforcement proceedings against Veritasium and Reggie. Um, but yes, it's absolutely true. Although the allegation was that, or the justification or the jurisdiction that was um, used by the SEC was the fraudulent marketing of securities, there was a whole issue as to whether or not the VERI token represented a security or not. It was never argued, and the VERI token itself was mentioned so many times in the complaint and the TRO, but not once was it mentioned in the final consent judgment. Not once. It was never addressed. So we, as a community, as a community of token holders, were left in limbo. We were left in the lurch. And although the funds that were disgorged from Reggie, along with a massive fine penalty he had to pay as well, inordinate size of penalty in comparison to the funds raised, and when you compare that to other projects as well, where they have been fined, there's no comparison. This is totally disproportionate, the fine that he had to pay. So there are many issues we have with the way the case was handled, how stuff was put together, the expert himself, and so on. And we've made all of these points in the bar complaint.
Am I right in saying too that Hester Pierce even said that the SEC laid a heavy hand? I believe that's a quote. Laid a heavy
Correct.
hand on Reggie in this
Yes,
case.
absolutely correct. Yes, she did admit that. And it was early days, and I suspect there was a bit of ignorance in relation to crypto as well. And I draw attention to the fact that in Duty's declaration, the expert who was involved in crypto projects anyway, um, from an investment point of view, made a statement that the tokens were like shares, entitling you to vote on the corporate activity and also participate in dividends and net profits and stuff like that, which is nothing of the sort. It is a utility token, but that's a separate argument altogether.
Sure.
The current proceedings that have been presented, filed, the motion to vacate on the grounds of a fraud on the court. Um, if we're successful, and I believe we will be, if we get a fair hearing, then I believe the likelihood is very strong for us to be able to get the final judgment, even though it was by consent, set aside, or should I say vacated, which may well restore the utility of the VERI tokens. It will certainly release Reggie from the prohibitions and the restrictions he's currently under as a result of that judgment that he's had to abide by, should I say. There's a lot riding on this at the end of the day. So it's an opportunity for us to be able to turn the situation around completely, and restore Reggie's reputation. We as a community have filed the community's amicus brief, and I would add that in truth, it's the first opportunity that we have ever had, apart from filing a no action letter in the past, applying for a no action letter with the SEC corporate division. It's the first opportunity we've really had as a community to be able to get our voices heard. Our objective in this current process is to encourage the judge to rule on an evidentiary hearing so that he can actually hear the actual evidence and present it, and for Reggie to be able to present his side of the case, so that it's not just all the SEC's and the SEC being believed. But like I say, I think there was some misunderstanding as to how crypto worked back in the days. I mean, nearly 6 years have now elapsed since that. So people are a lot more familiar with crypto. I mean, if you remember in the early days, it was the domain of terrorists and illegal activity. And now we've got BlackRock heading up all the ETFs for this thing, along with JP Morgan being custodian. So it's all of a sudden become official and adopted and accepted. So it was nothing ever of the sort.
I think
Sorry.
there's also some confusion behind Veritasium and what it actually is. You know, many people think it is a crypto or a blockchain when it actually is a software company. And the very token is its utility is it's a license key that allows you access to this platform and products and services of Veritasium. So it's there, in my mind, there is a confusion there with even some of the community members of what the very token actually is. And Michael, do you want to
What it was, yeah.
or sorry, yes, what it was, because yeah, the SEC has severed that connection, and of course, this is why we're fighting right now. Um, Michael, do you
Yeah,
want to
I don't
touch
know
on?
how. I mean, I would like clarity there. I would, um, but the connection is severed. So I don't know. I mean, that we want to restore original utility. You know, I mean, the SEC took all of Reggie's money, and so there is no platform that is built right now. I am aware, you know, Reggie's working on the smart metal, the potentially some economic agents or AI agents. I'm sorry. Um, Again, I'm trying to keep up with what the man's doing, and
Hmm.
he's able to do a lot on a shoestring budget. But no, the tokens. Let's see. Let's see if the judge brings that in. Again, our role. We did lay out a fairly detailed history in the amicus brief. What the VeriDAO was, how it was formed out of the community, what actions have been taken. There's a little bit of history there. But the main goal is again just to let Reggie tell his story. As long as the judge grants an evidentiary hearing, we will be very happy. But at least we should be, because that's a very small, simple goal of the amicus. Expensive, but small and simple. And just to back up for a second, we're talking about Jorge. Jorge's not at the SEC anymore. You guys know that. Well, the SEC is being represented by Ben, an attorney named Ben, and I don't know very much about Ben. Yeah, but his arguments. So again, just real quick to back up, and you might want to throw up the schedule, Riz, because that schedule does seem to be holding the May 30th, June 20th, June 27th. I mean, we are in a time period where news is happening in days, not weeks and months anymore. You know, it's happening pretty fast. So on the 20th, the SEC replied to Reggie's motion to vacate, and they basically said, and Yak can put in a little 2 cents here as well, but basically, too much time has passed, Judge. I think they went as far as to say, even if fraud did occur, you need to ignore it because of the length of time. You know, these guys had a chance, you know, so many years ago to ask these questions. Oh, how was that whenever Reggie was, you know, going through a Coinbase lawsuit or trying to enforce his patent or getting sued again in New York? Or, I mean, you know, I can understand a passing of time, but it's not like the man sat still. He's not been allowed to sit still. He hasn't. He's, you know, so anyway, I think it's a very, very weak argument, and that's why it comes in and why the amicus brief is so important. You know, because we tell the judge, hey, we're aware of over 100 different complaint circumstances or unique grievances that the token holders have come to expect. 100 is a lot, guys, after 5.5 years of nothing, no utility. 100 is a heck of a lot of folks. We were able to get that. I would like to see in the, sorry to change subjects, but I would like to see how many folks the SEC was able to get that claimed Veritasium Fair Fund. Was it 100? Anyway, it's just a question I have because
Yeah.
what we've been able to do is very important. So I'll hand it off to Yak about the SEC's reply to Reggie.
Well, I I mean, just to pick up on what you said, I think in the end, I think it was over 180 bar complaints that were filed against Tenrero, but we swore affidavits confirming that that bar complaints were served, were sent, were filed, because many of us didn't get acknowledgements from the Attorney Grievance Committee. And the Attorney Grievance Committee themselves, in those circumstances, wrote to a number of people. Again, we didn't all get notification or any letters as such, letting us know that the Attorney Grievance Committee, in their infinite wisdom, felt that the OGC, the Office of General Counsel of the SEC themselves, were best suited to conduct the investigation. Now, we drafted a letter in response to that action, vehemently opposed to it, and we joined issue with them on various fronts as to why this was not a good idea, and it was potentially a conflict of interest amongst a whole myriad of things. So, and that letter did get posted, and many people filed that letter with the AGC as well. So, as I say, an awful lot has happened. But just turning back to
before you go any further, and as a result of that, we do believe that this is why Jorge Tenrero was demoted to the IT department. Now, it's just
The complaints that
we
were
don't know
submitted,
for sure.
I think it had a major part to do with it.
Yeah, the timing fits. I mean, I know that the Ripple and XRP are sort of trying to take credit for it, but the timing fits perfectly. When you consider when we were filing all of these, I think the first complaint was filed on the 5th of October, and then the whole other complaints were filed subsequent to that, and it was around about December, I believe, that we started receiving notification from the AGC that they were referring the matter to the SEC, back to the SEC, for them to investigate. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they've delegated their disciplinary actions. What they've done is effectively delegated their investigatory actions to the SEC themselves. And how difficult is it for them to just skim over the whole thing and dare I say, whitewash it? I should be careful of my words. I mean, I won't go any further than that, but it's like asking the wolf to guard the henhouse, so to speak. So it's gotten to that stage where, what do we need to do to get justice and to be heard and to be rightfully? I mean, the argument essentially is that the AGC were mandated with authority to investigate and take disciplinary action against attorneys that breach any of the professional conduct rules. And each state essentially has their own conduct rules. We've made so many allegations in there, not only breach of conduct rules, but potentially criminal allegations as well against Jorge Tenrero and others. So, it's not just a question of professional disciplinary action. There are matters that the AGC could also refer to the Attorney General for criminal investigations. So there's a lot to it. But I've lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I can pick up here. The SEC, sorry, you want to add to that, Michael?
I was just going to say, in happier times and more trusting times, we would trust the government to conduct an investigation.
Sure.
I've seen too much I was not happy that they handed off that investigation, even if that's the proper way to do it. Yeah. Again, in earlier times, you might trust a government investigation. These days, not a lot of trust that anything's going to get done. We have examples of that. So that's the only thing I want to add.
Yeah.
I was going to add that the SEC, in my understanding, is meant to protect retail investors or just the general public. So I guess what I'm trying to get to is the Amicus brief is basically representing VERI token holders, the ones that were damaged as a result of the SEC's actions. So in my eyes, the Amicus is integral in the case to vacate, or the motion to vacate Reggie's case.
Correct. I mean, we've instructed counsel on behalf of the token holders to file this Amicus brief, and there was two avenues of approach that we could move forward on. One was on a factual basis and the other was on the law. And we agreed with council that in the end we would go down the law route or the precedence route, so that our amicus brief essentially contains various legal precedents covering specifically these specific circumstances where, I mean, in one case, I think it's Sierra Pacific, they didn't allow it, but they set out certain facts or requirements in the event of. So it sets out essentially the law, what the requirements are in order to be able to rule on an evidentiary hearing or for a motion to vacate to succeed. So what we've done in the amicus brief, in the community's amicus brief, is to provide the legal precedents and bring that before for the attention of the Judge Kuntz, the Honourable Judge Kuntz, in order to take that into account, with the idea that he draws comfort from those legal precedents and be able to issue a ruling for an evidentiary hearing with limited discovery at the end of the day. And that's what our primary objective is. As I say, it's our first opportunity to be heard on the issue.
And we're the protected. I mean, it's very important context. The protected are the ones standing up saying, hey, Judge, we want to be your friend. Please.
Yeah, the defrauded. Yeah, the defrauded. Yeah, we're the defrauded. And supposedly we were made whole from the Veritasium Fair Fund. I mean, there's a whole load of issues that surround that as well that we are currently filing FOIAs on, seeking clarity. And because there's this thing from start to finish, it's one misstep after another, one error after another. It's a comedy of errors. I mean, if it wasn't so tragic and serious, it would be a comedy. But as I say, we were never truly compensated. We were compensated allegedly, or at least those people that were successful and qualified were compensated in fiat terms. But the original, I think, proposal was for the so-called qualifying defrauded VERI token holders would be able to claim for in specie, i.e., if they paid in Ethereum, which is what we all did, paid for our VERI tokens in Ethereum, then we should get back the equivalent in Ethereum of what we paid for the tokens. We didn't. We got a fiat amount based on the valuation as at the time of purchase. And as you all well know, price of Ethereum in fiat terms has changed massively. So we were not adequately or properly compensated. We were not made whole. We were not made good in any way, shape, or form. And the truth of the matter is that we didn't really want that. We wanted to use the tokens for their original purpose at the end of the day. So you know, it would have represented some form of compensatory relief if we got our Ethereum tokens back. But at the end of the day, it never truly compensated us because it denied us the opportunity to be able to use the tokens for their original purpose as intended and why those tokens were purchased. So it all boils down to
in that yak. I can say I did not. I didn't want to give them my information at that time, believe it or not.
A lot of people refuse to submit applications for the VERI Fair Fund. I think off the top of my head, it was only about 140 odd people that originally applied for a claim against the compensation, the Veritasium Fair Fund. And I think off the top of my head, only about 105 people were successful. And that was after extension after extension after extension, without explanation, incidentally, of trying to encourage people to step forward and file a claim if they qualified. So,
and that's less than 1% of the 25,000 VERI wallets that existed at the time.
It's less. I think it's closer to less than 0.5%. So how is that protecting the token holders when less than 0.5% participate at the end of the day? The qualifying criteria may have also set the bar a little bit higher. So essentially, it only applied to people that purchased after the event, at a certain price and so on. So there were qualifying criteria that you had to meet in order to be able to successfully claim in the first place. So there were limitations, so that not every token holder could have participated in claiming on the Veritasium Fair Fund. So there were, but as I say, originally it did have the provision to be recompensed in specie or fiat, and then in specie was removed inexplicably, and so that it only ended up being you would only get your fiat money back equivalent to what the valuation was at the time of purchase, which is massive. It's like getting paid compensated for your BTC based on its value back in 2016. $600 instead of $100,000 now. There's a big difference, and it is a big difference. Like I say, if I was going to accept being compensated as quotes the defrauded, and I was never ever defrauded, and I don't think anybody was, and that was another reason why people didn't participate in this scheme. Is because they never felt that they were defrauded at the end of the day. But
Oh yeah.
I thought to myself, well, if the SEC is going to pay me back what I paid for the tokens, and hopefully in Ethereum, which is what I was originally led to believe, and it did state that, and I was allowed to keep my tokens as well, because that's the other thing. But then, are you mad? Yeah, of course I'll go for that. Yeah, give me the money and I'll keep my tokens as well, And that's exactly what the offer was. But they removed in specie and they amended it to fiat. And as I say, it's just one thing after another after another. And the whole thing, in my opinion, stinks from start to finish, from the beginnings of the investigation, how it began in 2017, literally months after the I hesitate to use the word initial coin offering. It wasn't an initial coin offering, it was an initial sales offering. It was a sale of tokens. And a lot of the work had already been done. It's not like nothing had been done. Patents had already been filed by then. Anyway, this was in 2017. Patents originally were filed in a very early part of 2014. I think priority notices on the patents went out at the beginning of 2014, and the original concept was arrived at in towards the latter part of 2013. And I believe Matthew and Reggie showcased this concept in a YouTube video around about then, towards the latter part of 2013. So yes, this is well before Ethereum, well before any of the competition, well before the so-called big boys. I mean, Reggie was so far ahead of the field that he obviously had to have his wings clipped, if you get my drift. I mean, I'm reminded of the words of Dr. Mark Farber. The SEC is one of the most corrupt institutions in the world. I think to quote him almost word for word. And I hope you don't mind me quoting you, Dr. Farber. But yeah, it does feel like that. It feels like we've been greatly wronged by the government actions. Our own view is that it is government overreach. Now with post-Chevron doctrine, that these agencies can no longer make stuff up in order to justify jurisdiction over issues and matters that they have no right in adjudicating in the first place. And this has now been borne out by admissions in, I think, a recent Binance case where the SEC had previously admitted in informal correspondence or informal releases, and now officially in the Binance case that the term digital asset securities is a made-up, fabricated term and has no basis in statute whatsoever. So they made up a term in order to reel in these crypto projects so that they could assume jurisdiction over them and enforcement proceedings and actions and so on and so forth. whether that was deliberate or not, but at the end of the day, we're now in an age of following the Supreme Court's ruling of post-Chevron doctrine. No longer can these agencies uh, 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 um, assimilate jurisdiction over issues and matters that they have no right or justified or justification in adjudicating in the first place. And that's, as I say, been confirmed in the recent Binance case.
There's a lot of stuff happening on the legal side these days, and that's why I guess in our case we're looking forward to this Friday. Let's keep it. What's next? Next is this Friday. Yak, I do have a question. After Friday, my understanding is the judge takes it all under consideration, right? So Reggie's motion to vacate, the SEC's response, the VeriDAO community's amicus brief, and he takes it all under consideration. Do you know how long he has?
Well, and then, of course, there's the reply from Reggie's counsel in relation to the response from the SEC. So right. I couldn't even hazard a guess. I mean, the best person that would be in the best position to let us know on timing wise would be Sieberts, but I don't think it's going to be weeks. I think it's likely to be days, but I'd be guessing. In all honesty, I couldn't confirm it, but once he's got all the information and the filings and the representations before him, he'll take it under advisement along with our amicus brief, consider and review the law and the situation and the facts and the declarations, because Michael prepared a fairly comprehensive declaration in support of our amicus brief, and with the help of counsel, but we do a lot of drafting ourselves, and with the support of counsel, we tidied that up. And that has gone in support of our community's amicus brief. I keep emphasizing that because this amicus brief is filed on behalf of each and every one of you VERI token holders, and it's in support of the motion to vacate. We vacate the SEC's judgment, boom, we're in business. All right. How things happen.
Look, it's after. Not Reggie will get that. We haven't asked for a motion to vacate. We're just giving amicus brief and support.
Correct.
Just to be clear, there's three.
I actually wanted to touch on that because in the amicus itself, it states that the VeriDAO used to be incorporated in Wyoming, I believe it was, but has since dissolved. Thank you. But now it's really just a DAO, decentralized autonomous
it's more
organization, representing token holders.
Riz, you said it perfectly. Mark said it perfectly in your spaces. We're a group of volunteers is what we are. We're very interested in technology. We see crypto as being able to be patented, right? We see it as technology, and technology can be patented. It's very simple. Reggie has a great tweet, the one with the wisdom from a child tweet. I mean, that's exactly how our thought process goes, right? So those are the aims that we look to further, and we're volunteers, and it's great to work with all of you because we do bring different talents to this. I mean, we really do. We needed Yak for a long time, and I'm very happy that he came over a year ago.
Yeah,
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to help. I mean, I really am. I mean, sat on my backside for the last couple of years. It's like brought new meaning to my life at the end of the day, and I couldn't hope for, like I say, to be working with a better group of people. We are all motivated, passionate about what we're doing, as I'm sure other members that are supporting, our actions and our initiatives. I mean, it's proof positive. At the end of the day, we're selling the smart metal silver rounds. People are filing complaints. So we are getting the support, and we are truly grateful for the support. It's all geared to our ultimate goal in restoring utility, Reggie's reputation, and the previous status quo as much as it's possible prior to the SEC's overreach, should I say. Let's put it like that.
And to be clear for those listening, it's not even just restoring the utility to the token. I mean, the what Reggie's created here is a way to circumvent the monopoly that financial institutions have over us as citizens. Like we have an opportunity here to literally remove the middleman and be able to transact peer to peer. That's huge. We're at a precipice here.
I'm reminded here of the immortal words of your own Samuel Adams. It does not take a majority to prevail, but rather an irate, tireless minority keen on setting brushfires of freedom in the minds of men. That's the quote. Obviously, I include women as well, because it's correct. I mean, behind every successful man, there stands a woman. So, it includes people, so it's not limiting in any way. But I can tell you, it gets very, very tiring to be part of the tireless minority. And we couldn't do it without, the support of each other in the groups that we work in and the support of the wider group generally in our community. I mean, I think we've got about 300 or so active members supporting our initiatives, even though we've got about 3,200 odd members in the main group. And there are 24,000 wallet holder addresses. So we have tried to come up with ideas as to how best we could communicate with the whole of the VERI token community, how we can do it. I mean, we just we're unable to, say, for instance, do a direct mail to all the members on the Telegram group alone. We're not allowed to. We're forbidden under Telegram's rules. We just cannot direct mail the whole group, even though we wanted to from a year ago about scams that were going on. We wanted to warn our members that there are various scams about migration schemes, migrate to this, and you would have lost your tokens, and people have lost their tokens, and it's tragic, it's heartbreaking. Some people have lost an absolute fortune through these
Mhm.
scams. And I'm sure, it's not the end of it, it's just the beginning. All I'm saying is that we have looked into ways in which we can communicate our messages to the wider community, not only in relation to Telegram members alone, but the wider community of 24,000 odd VERI token holders, to inform them and educate them of what's going on, all the initiatives, what we're doing, how you can help us, and so forth. But you're absolutely right, Riz, in that this isn't just a battle for justice, truth and justice for Reggie and the community. It's about freedom for us, freedom from slavery. I mean, we've launched the latest initiative is we're holding auctions, we're auctioning off, and one of the rounds is the donation, which I'll come to in a moment. But we're auctioning off what we consider to be premium round numbers in order to be able to raise funds to pay for the legal fees for our community's amicus brief. And we really need the support of the community and the wider crypto community and all of humanity in order to be able to raise the funds for um, paying for our legal fees for this amicus brief in support of the motion to vacate. And so we're relying on people yet again. And I know that there might be people suffering from, sort of initiative fatigue, but we are totally dependent on our community and the wider public at large in supporting our various initiatives, specifically this now in relation to the auctions. There's two particular rounds that we are focusing our promotion on. The first one is the 1776 round. That's the number 1776 round in our initial first edition minting of these smart metal rounds. And I mean, we were going to label it, I think, the liberation round or something along those lines. And we're going to have a declaration of financial independence that's going to accompany this, whether we do it by way of NFT, whatever. And Riz and the others know more about that, as I've been absent from Telegram, the Telegram groups, and for no other reason than I've got pressing personal business that I need to attend to, that I need to focus on. But I can assure you that I am working very, very hard in the background with the team in order to be able to get all these initiatives going. So I'm still here. I'm still very much on the case. It's just that you're not seeing me on Telegram at the moment. But back to these auction rounds.
Before
So
before you before you continue there, I just want to say thanks to Michael. He had to leave because of
yeah,
course he has work. And again, we are all volunteers. We're not profiting in any way from the sale of these very smart metal rounds and or the auction and initiatives that we're doing to raise funds for the Amicus brief. So I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I just wanted to say thanks to
no,
Michael.
no. I mean, I'm very glad you mentioned that. I mean, we need to emphasize to people that not one single one of us makes a red cent out of this. Some of us work very, very hard on this. A couple of us haven't got jobs. Well, three or four of us that I can think of off the top of my head haven't got full-time jobs at the moment. And so we devote every waking hour on this project, including Riz. All right, he works so damn hard in getting out, trying to get our message across to the wider public on YouTube, other social media outlets, X, or Twitter, whatever. And it's just trying to get our message across and publicize the initiatives that we do. And he works so hard, and he relies and counts on the support of the group in order to be able to do that. But we are a bunch of volunteers. We get paid absolutely nothing, contrary to certain allegations that have been made. We don't, none of us make a penny out of this. It's everything, every single penny either goes towards costs of production, legal fees, legal fees in support of the various actions that Reggie is having to defend himself against, and also his living expenses. So the man can pay grocery bills for himself and his family, for crying out loud. So the support that you give is absolutely vital, vital. And we count on it. And again, I want to thank everyone from the bottom of my heart. And I'm
And from there, I'd like to add that we also have another initiative, which is the Bury the Beast, which is
mm,
round very smart metal round number 666, which Quantum Metals is creating a nice box for and is going to bury 6 feet deep. And all the funds raised through that initiative will again help pay for the Amicus brief. And I believe we're looking at the a leaderboard for the donations, and the top donor will actually get the activated NFT from round 666.
yeah. Just to, I mean, the 666 number, obviously it holds a biblical context. It's symbolic of what it means at the end of the day. Modern theory suggests that the number essentially using gematria and that essentially stands for tyranny. And so it's our fight against tyranny. So on the one hand, we've got the 666 round, which symbolizes tyranny, slavery. On the other hand, we've got the 1776 round that symbolizes freedom, freedom, liberation. So they're juxtaposed, the two rounds. I know for you biblical scholars out there that there are earlier manuscripts that I think that date back to the 3rd century. Um, uh, that refer to a number 616. Again, something we're aware of, just to let you know, for those biblical scholars out there. And that seems to relate to the way in which Nero and Neron, using the Hebrew, was originally spelled. The nun was dropped on one of them, hence why it was 616. It's essentially a Latinized version of Greek manuscripts that were written back in the 3rd century. I think the papyrus, it's papyrus 115 or P115 off the top of my head. So just for you biblical scholars out there, but essentially we've gone with the 666 number as that's generally the most known about number, and it symbolizes, you know, it symbolizes tyranny at the end of the day and slavery. And we are seeking to raise as much funds as possible to pay for our legal fees in relation to this amicus brief, the community's amicus brief, in support of the motion to vacate. And so we rely on our members and the wider community, the crypto community, and the general public at large to support us in this initiative. Um,
And I will
uh,
add to that
uh,
that I will add to that that we had an idea of creating NFT for all donors. You know, we're going to have a memorial book that you can sign and create a little message, and this will be turned into an NFT that will forever live on the blockchain. So we are at a historic moment in time where we are. I believe we will be victorious, whether it's now or later. You know, we're not going to stop until we are. And you know, this will serve to mark this moment in time.
yeah, nothing can stop an idea whose time has come, and this idea is overdue. It's long overdue. I'm sure we're not the only ones that are fed up with the tyranny and the corruption and the censorship and the you name it. I mean, we more and more people are becoming aware, especially after what happened recently with the COVID episode and so forth, and the way that people were demonized about it. It's horrendous. The tyranny that we live under is, I mean, we live under an illusion of democracy and freedom. It is an illusion. Um, to use the words of Stalin, and I'm paraphrasing, the best way of controlling the opposition is to run it ourselves. Yeah. So that is to become the opposition ourselves as well. So you run both sides, and essentially, whether it's the blue party, the red party, the green party, whatever t-shirt you're wearing, it doesn't matter. It's the same people that are always in control and are always in charge and that dictate terms as to how we live. And if we move towards a central bank digital currency or some form of programmable digital currency, we are going to face slavery and control like you have never dreamed of.
It's a
So
good point because, you know, we could argue that finance is that that tool that's being used to induce this slavery.
yeah, I mean the money that the fiat that you use as currency, often described as money, is not money and it's not yours. The money, I mean, to use the US for example, it was the dollar, and it became after 1913 the Federal Reserve note, and you'll see that printed across the note. It's a Federal Reserve note. It doesn't say dollar or silver dollar or gold dollar. It says Federal Reserve note. It's loaned into existence out of thin air, I might add, created out of thin air.
With interest.
So with interest. And the interest is never created at the same time, so that it's essentially a Ponzi scheme. And we are, I think, in the death throes of that Ponzi scheme, and they're getting ready, and they've been getting ready for this in order to fabricate and create chaos to move us into the next system of control. Don't forget that the other half of every transaction is monetary. You know, anything that you do, any good or service that you purchase or buy, you're using money or currency to pay for it. You earn that currency. You're paid in that currency. And the moment you deposit that currency with a bank, it's not yours. It never was yours to begin with anyway. You're given the privilege of using that currency that you have been misled to believe is money. And in the immortal words of J.P. Morgan himself more than 100 years ago, what is gold? Gold is money. Everything else is credit. So everything is credit. The fiat you use is credit. It's loaned into existence. So It's not
And
money. Gold and silver are money. And it states that quite clearly in your constitution in the US. So that's what is defined as money. And a number of states have now reinstituted that. Quite why they needed to reinstitute or make it lawful to pay in gold or silver. It's already part of the constitution. So it's already defined as money. So,
this brings us
and as I
full
say, it just
circle.
goes back to freedom.
Yeah, this brings us
Yeah,
full
it goes
circle
back to
to,
freedom at the end of the day.
yeah.
The fiat currency has been weaponized and it's been used against us and it's been inflated, it, you know, year after year after year by governments in cahoots with central banks to inflate and reduce the purchasing power of your currency. And where do we draw the line? People are ignorant of what's going on. They're oblivious. We're distracted. We're propagandized to. We are misled. We're lied to consistently, not just about things, about everything, all of the time. So more and more people are waking up to the struggles that we're going through and that we need to fight back. And that if we need to fight back and we need to fight back now, and we're not the only ones, others are doing it. And notable mentions like Gerald Celente, Catherine Austin Fitz, there's a whole host of them. And we're fighting back for our freedom. So anyway,
And
this
again, this
auction
brings us way
is
back to Reggie's invention that
yeah.
is essentially a digital barter, right?
Mm,
That can again
mm.
help us circumvent this fake financial system that's been created and forced on us.
Yeah,
So,
system of control, a
mhm.
system of control at the end of the day. This is what Reggie's inventions do. It hands back the control to us as individuals so that we can transact on a peer-to-peer basis, um, swapping value for value as opposed to value for fiat currency. And what I mean by value is your time and services and expertise and blood, sweat and tears and knowledge and so on and so forth, all the goods that you produce, or it's swapping your real value, getting away from swapping your real value from fake currency. Okay, they're stealing your goods and services with a fake currency that they inflate out of existence. And that's why the price of things have gone up so much, is because we're consistently losing the purchasing power of the fiat currency that we essentially are paid in. And and that's deliberate. It is deliberate through a process of inflation and deflation. The people I mean, I think the founding fathers said this. Well, I think it was Benjamin Franklin. I'm not sure, or was it Jackson, that said that the lands that have been conquered and been tamed by your forefathers are going to be the successors through a process of inflation and deflation will be robbed of everything that they have from the central banks and the people that control them. So that's what we're about. That's what and we are forming together and gathering together like-minded individuals to fight back. And this, as I say, this amicus brief represents our first real opportunity to be heard. And we're doing that by presenting the judge with legal authority to give Reggie an evidentiary hearing so that we have an opportunity to be able to put this SEC debacle to bed once and for all. So we rely on our community and the wider public to support us by, donating to the 666 round, putting in bids for the 1776 liberation round. And there are other premium rounds available on the Quantum Metals auction site. You can actually go link through to that page on veridao.io, veridao.io. It's got a page there where you can link to the auctions. I think it comes up on a pop-up page. Thank you, Liam, for all your hard work. Honestly, brother, I mean, what would we do without you?
True.
So a tremendous amount of effort has been put into this. All we ask is for you guys to support us by, putting in a bid for the liberation round, putting in a bid for this slavery round that we want to bury once and for all and put behind us, and the other premium rounds. And by all means, feel free to purchase the smart metal using the same site, because that supports Reggie with legal fees and his grocery bills.
Well,
Is there anything more I can add?
no, in fact, I just want to thank you for joining me, and I want to thank Michael as well for joining me. And I think I'd like to end it by saying, fight for your freedom like you fought for toilet paper. Um, and I think that's a fitting end right there. And
Thank you
again,
very
I
much.
appreciate your time, Yak. And again, Michael, I appreciate your time. Thank you both for joining me. And
Thank you. Thank you
yeah,
for inviting us and giving us this opportunity. Thank you very much. And thank you again to the community.